We need to focus on the institution, not the individual priests. Practice and policy. Show me the church manipulated the system so that these guys wouldn't have to face charges. Show me they put those same priests back into parishes time and time again. Show me this was systemic, that it came from the top down.
And that was a bit from Oscar-nominated film Spotlight about the Boston Globe reporters who exposed the Catholic Church's systematic cover-up of sexual abuse by priests in Boston. And joining us now is the film's director and co-writer, Tom McCarthy, who is also nominated for Best Director. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Tanya. Great to be here.
First off, congratulations on all the film's awards and nominations, as well as your nomination for Best Director. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. It's very exciting, you know, to be recognized by your peers and colleagues like that. And it's something, you know, when you set out to make a movie, especially like this, you're really just committed to the project. And in the end, to be kind of rewarded in that way is just really exciting.
And you're in pretty great company.
Very good company.
Yeah. Speaking of great company, your cast is just stellar.
Yeah.
What was it like working with all of those amazing actors?
Well, it was always kind of the gamble with this film because it's very much an ensemble film. And we thought, we had to put it together very carefully and get the kind of actors who are willing to play along. As you know, any one of these actors can carry a film. Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Stanley Tucci, Liev Schreiber, John Slattery. But what was most exciting, not just the fact that they're terrific, but seeing them kind of, their interplay, seeing them kind of adapt to this ensemble nature, which was very much determined by the people they were playing, the true life reporters.
So you can be honest without naming names. Did you have to manage egos?
Of course, that's part of my job.
Right.
Yeah, you hope they have egos.
Yeah,
if they don't have egos, they can't be any good. No, you know, look, there were so many good actors on the set. It sort of worked. It was like a classroom. They kind of took care of themselves. You know, they knew what they were there to do, and they took it very seriously. And I think it's also the topic of the film. They felt like we had a chance to tell a story that was really about something, and that's not always the case with films.
That's true.
You know, not only entertaining, but it was about a very important topic that's very much still playing out today.
Absolutely. Was there a moment in filming where you thought to yourself, wow, this is it, we've got gold?
You know, it was just the day-to-day. Filming was remarkably uneventful. We were prepared. We had a great cast. We had a great crew. And outside of a few crazy days, like we shot a live scene at Fenway Park during a baseball game.
Wow.
I don't advise that. It was our first day of filming, and that was crazy. People kept coming in and trying to give Mark Ruffalo a beer when we were shooting. But outside of that, it really, you could just feel it kind of had its own momentum and its own energy and its own, you know, sometimes sets take on a culture and life of their own. And I think, you know, the first day on set, one of the senior reporters sort of gave a little benediction. He talked about the importance of their work, and like they didn't know. They were working in this crappy little office buried in the bowels of the Globe, the Spotlight team, reporting on this abuse within the Catholic Church. And he just talked about how important it was. And it was so much better than a speech coming from me or any actor. It really gave the film heart and purpose.
He set the tone.
He really did.
How appropriate is it that we're sitting here at the Wall Street Journal, a newspaper, talking about a film that really celebrates good old-fashioned shoe leather investigative reporting? Do you feel when you look at all the struggles that local papers are facing and the fact that so many are taken over by corporations, are we in danger of losing some of that?
Absolutely. I think the situation is in fact very dire. Look, some of the stronger papers like the Wall Street Journal, certainly the New York Times, the Washington Post, they're doing pretty well. It's all the local papers. It's the smaller towns and cities. This was a local story. This was the Boston story.
But what you do so well in illustrating is that a local paper like the Boston Globe should be very closely knit with its community. That's that's the community it serves. But sometimes it takes an outsider to come in and say, there's bad stuff going on right under our noses that we don't see because of that relationship.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, I think most newspapers pride themselves on remaining separate. That's part of their job. They're the watchdogs. But in this case, they are. All these people live and work in that community, so they become a part of the culture. And it may be, in some sense, even deferential to the Catholic Church. Enter Marty Barron, now the editor at the Washington Post, with an outsider's perspective. Not to mention he's a man of the Jewish faith in a very Irish Catholic city, so maybe he doesn't have quite the same reverence towards the Catholic Church. And he asks some very simple but some very profound question based on their own reporting that really shake up the paper and the city and ultimately the country and the world. I mean, this is a story that's, as Pope Francis will attest, is still very much playing out.
It's resonating today.
Yeah.
And tell us, Tom McCarthy, what is your background? Do you have any Irish Catholic there?
Why do you say that? Yeah, look, I was raised in, you know, I'm an Irish American, raised in a Catholic family, went to Boston College, was educated by the Jesuits, spent some time there. I feel like I had, you know, that was one foothold I had into this story. I understand the culture. I understand power and the presence of the Catholic Church in our lives growing up, and sort of how beyond question they were. He just didn't think of it.
So that you understand all of that.
Yeah, I think it certainly gave me an in, you know. It certainly gave me a sense of understanding, a little bit of an insider into this story.
And yet I read that you said this was definitely not an attack on the Catholic Church. I'm curious what your relationship is now as an adult to the Church, and how you think Pope Francis has dealt with this scandal.
Well, yeah, look, I'd say I'm probably in the category of lapsed Catholic, and I think that means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But I'm still connected to the Church, certainly through my family. And I felt a great deal of responsibility in approaching this story. I wanted to do it with as much empathy and grace as possible. Keep in mind, a lot of the laity, a lot of the devout Catholics felt very betrayed by the institution in this situation. Yes. Faith is very important to a lot of people, and that community does a lot of wonderful things. And I think it was just, they couldn't comprehend that the Church would allow this to happen, and not only allow it to happen, to be in some ways complicit. So I think what's important now is that we continue to press the Church for continued action and vigilance and transparency. Pope Francis is saying and doing some very wonderful things. I'm really excited about it, and I think he's being a very inclusive Pope, and he's being a very open-hearted Pope. I think on this particular subject, people want more. Right. I mean, what else? When you're talking about the stake of our children, what else matters? Let's start there, and let's make sure we're doing everything we can. And one of the most exciting things about this project, all the awards that you mentioned at the top of the show, it's very exciting, but really what's incredibly gratifying is the response we keep hearing from around the world, from survivors, from organizations who say, we finally have a voice, we finally have a platform. Yes, people have reported on this, but the reach of cinema is really great, and this film is very entertaining, and I think what's happening is getting people into theaters to see it, you know, and talk about it, and that's going to cause change, hopefully.
The power of filmmaking and the power of journalism. And I'm just curious, did your interest in journalism spark with your role on The Wire, where you played sort of a less than scrupulous journalist?
I couldn't walk through this. I was getting a lot of dirty looks walking through this newsroom. You know, it's interesting. I think I've always been a little bit of a news junkie. I learned a lot on The Wire. You know, as an actor, you're diving into professions all the time, and you learn a lot because you do your research. You spend time with journalists. In this case, David Simon, former journalist, amazing storyteller. So he was incredibly inspirational to me in a lot of ways. I never planned on revisiting it. I thought the fifth season of The Wire, in terms of journalism, they got it. Yeah. So actually, I went into this project like, oh man, David Simon's going to see this. All these journalists are going to see this. It was, if not motivating, it was a little bit scary. You know, he was a little angel devil on my shoulder. Absolutely.
So, do you consider yourself an actor or a director first?
You know, it's interesting. I think I'll probably always consider myself an actor because I never planned on being an actor. You know, I come from a family that don't do anything like this. So the fact that I could do that and make a living, that was amazing to me. And then I was always writing along the way. So when I wrote The Station Agent, my first film, that kind of really changed the direction of my career. And has continued. So now writing and directing is certainly taking over.
And certainly I'm sure that as an actor, you feel like you have more power as an actor that also directs, correct?
Yeah, I think it's been really helpful. It's a part of the working with actors.
Yes.
I really enjoy that part of the process.
So as a director, your background as an actor helps you direct.
I think so, yeah. I think, look, it works both ways. When I get the chance to act, it's such a great luxury to be able to work with other wonderful directors and to learn from them and to watch, wow, that's how Clint Eastwood does that, or, you know, name the director, that's how he does that I've had a chance to work with and be like, wow, that's really interesting. David Simon, all the guys on The Wire, you know, and just for me, it's all storytelling, and I think I'm very collaborative in my approach anyway.
Absolutely, and we wish you the best of luck at the Oscars, but before we let you go, just really quickly, do you want to weigh in on the Oscars controversy this year about the lack of diversity?
Yeah, I don't think of it as a controversy necessarily. I think of it as action, social action, and I don't think it's endemic just to the Academy. I think it speaks to the greater society, and I'm really proud of sort of my community for speaking out. And I consider all of us brothers and sisters in this, and we all want the change. We all feel it. I think Cheryl Boone Isaacs has been an incredible leader, the head of the Academy in this, and has spoken to our frustrations and to our need for change, and she has already enacted change that will affect that. So I think we're all feeling that. We will make sure that change comes. We're all a part of it. And the only other thing I will say to that is, you know, Spotlight also speaks to a very disenfranchised group, which is the survivors of sexual abuse. And we're very proud of the platform we're giving them and the voice we're giving them. So change will continue to come.
All right, Tom McCarthy, congratulations again. We'll be rooting for you at the Oscars.
Great. It's great to be here. It's good to see you.